Hello, hold on. Let me finish getting everything set up here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, there we are. How
Hi,
is
David.
how is everybody? Like we
Doing well.
weren't
How about
just
yourself?
talking a second ago.
Yeah.
Doing
Are we
good.
live now?
We are
Awesome.
live. Yeah. So wanted to say hi to everybody who's already here. Thanks for coming and joining us. This is our third Campfire Chat this week. During our last one, we discussed there was a little bit of lore and some game mechanics, and gave a little more information about some of the jobs regarding the jobs in Next Horizon. If you couldn't make that one, there is a live VOD on our YouTube channel that you can go ahead and check out as well. For this week's chat, I think we're going to be primarily doing a deeper dive into some of the ships for Next Horizon. To talk about that, we have a full house of some MMJP team members. We have Russ, the CEO. We have the MMJP CTO, a lot of acronyms. Rusty here, and our CFO Sam.
Hello.
And we'll be going into that, asking some questions, trying to clear up a couple things. And if anybody has any questions in the chat, feel free to type them in there, and we'll address them as we see them. So I'm not sure, Russ. You want to jump
Yeah.
in and
Thank you,
start
David.
talking about it? No problem.
So I think anybody who's been following has seen that we've released some of uh, the artist renditions of the three ships that we're going to launch with, and kind of the time lapse videos of those being created. So we've got three main ships that'll be released once we start our pre-sales and our first season. Those are our Corvette class ships. This is the base level ship that you'll be able to get within the game, and there's three different versions of that, and the way that that version is determined is based off of what your primary stat is for the ship. Each of our ships have three attributes, whether it's weapons, shields, or speed. So if your primary stat on your ship is weapons, you're going to have the Gharial ship. I don't know if you want to show an image of these while we're kind of talking about them
Yeah,
real quick. If you want to flash those up.
yeah. Let's pop them up.
So the Gharial is like the arsenal, the weapons platform ship. It's got lots of guns, mainly geared for offensive combat, and taking out enemies. Second would be our Menhir, which is the shield-based ship. Give him a second. Yep. So this one is focused around defenses and defensive gameplay. We'll have certain scenarios where obviously having a stronger shield will be important based on environmental needs or things that you're running up against. And then our third and final ship in the Corvette class for the first season is going to be the Zephyr. And this one is all about speed and getting from point A to point B as fast as you can. So thank you for showing those. Now, when we talk about our classes of ships, Corvettes being the smallest ships that we're going to have aside from our shuttle, there will be a free-to-play option which is called our Courier, which will have everybody will have access to, and that's just kind of a small shuttle. But the primary ships, starting with the Corvettes, will all have the stat variabilities, as well as they will have the ability to add retrofits to them. Retrofits are going to be the main way in which you modify your ship's functionality and the things that it can do. And the Corvettes are going to have basically 5 stacks of retrofits available, and that means what you can do is you collect these retrofits in game. There'll be things that you seek out. You can equip these to your ship up to a stack of 5 of the same type. And when you do that, the bonuses applied from those will stack up as well. But there is a little bit of a catch there. As you go to apply these retrofits, each time you add one, there is a chance of failure. And if you fail to install a retrofit, it destroys all the previous retrofits you had installed. And that the chance of failure is based off the number of stacks you currently have equipped. So there is some risk when you go to install these because these are not parts that are necessarily meant to be on your ship. It's kind of a hacky way of doing modifications to your ship, but they do provide a lot of very powerful benefits that you can really apply to your ship to specialize in specific roles of what you may want to do.
Can we talk through that scenario of doing those upgrades just so people can
Absolutely.
sort of understand how that might work? Like, okay, I've got an upgrade. I want to put it on my ship. Like, what
So
happens? What do I
so
do?
you'll go into your hangar bay for your ship, and you'll have a list of the retrofits that you've collected throughout your gameplay, and you'll choose which one of those you want to install. If you have no retrofits installed in your ship, obviously you can select from anything in your list of retrofits. And an example here, let me just kind of use something as an example. This is stuff that's still in development, but let's say we've got one that's called augmented ballistics that gives you plus X to all of your weapons, and there'll be rarity for each of these. They'll have the same attribute modifier as far as applies to your weapons, but the rarity will determine what that bonus is going to be. So a common would give you +1 to your weapons, a rare +2, and a legendary would give you +3. And let's say I've collected 10 of these augmented ballistics, and I'm ready to start trying to equip these retrofits and get up to a stack of 5 on my ship. The first one that I install is going to have a 100% success rate, so I automatically get the first one. And
Nice. So I'm +2 now. My ship's got
exactly.
+2 weapons, and
Yep.
that worked. Cool.
And now I go, all right. So I want to get a little risky. So now I want to try to install a second one of these, a second augmented ballistics, and basically go up to tier 2 of this. I have a 90% success rate, so the success rate is going to go down by 10% each time you equip a new one. So the next one I have a 90% chance to succeed. I get that. So now I've got, up to a +6 depending upon the rarity. So let's just say these are all rare versions that I'm using. So now I'm at +4 for my weapon stat for my ship. And then I go, all right, let's press my luck. I want to keep going, and I'm going to go to install the third one. And I've got an 80% success rate on this, and I fail. Now all of those, I rolled terrible. Now all of those that I'd previously equipped are now gone, but I've still got the other 7 remaining that I can try to do this again.
So I go back down to like plus 0, but
+0.
I've got to start building up my bonuses again.
Exactly. So there's some strategy there and kind of what you want to do, and saving these up to kind of reach your kind of your break points of what you're trying to achieve. And there may be certain events or assignments that you're trying to participate in where there's a certain benchmark you're trying to reach, which will probably try to govern those decisions about how much risk do you want to take versus how much reward you're going to get for installing these retrofits.
So did you say there was 5 levels of retrofit that you can
Three.
Three levels?
Sorry, 3 rarities. But the Corvettes initially, our first ships, are going to have up to 5 stacks. So I can put up to 5 stacks on there, which means my final one will be at a 60% chance of success to get a full 5 stack of retrofits.
Yeah. So with this ballistic modifier, so I could get like if it's +2 for each one of these, I could get up to like plus 10.
Exactly.
That's pretty significant, but I mean that's pretty risky to go ahead and I guess a lot of luck as well to get them all.
It is, and again, like 60% chance, like over the course is not too bad. Some of the other ships that we're going to have as you progress in the ship classes you can control, or that you can have in your fleet, will have higher numbers of stacks. So there's more risk involved in trying to get those to basically min max. But with more reward comes more risk.
It's a tough call if I've got 4 on there. And I've only got 1 more. Do I want to take the risk and
exactly
put it on there, or do I want to save up and get a few of them before I try and get to level 5?
Exactly.
Because if I lose it, then I got nothing. I go back to 0.
Exactly. And maybe you take that risk. Maybe you've got 2 sets of retrofits that you're toggling, but that you're debating between. You go, I've got a 9 copies of this one, and I've got 6 copies of the other ones, but the one that I've got 6 copies of is my preferred one. I'll go ahead and try to get as many of those on as I can. If I fail, I've always got something else to fall back to and still be able to get some bonus.
Oh yeah, that's a good strategy.
One thing that I'm still not super clear on, just in the context of the discussion, and maybe for the sake of some of our audience, is why am I doing this, right? Like, why am I doing this?
Good question.
Yeah, like what? So we talked about the different classes of ship. The shield, the speed, and the gunner.
Weapon.
And so,
yes.
Yeah. So my question is, like, when do I deploy that? Where do I deploy? Can I deploy multiple of those? And how much of a difference is it going to make if I've got a +10 stat versus if I got a +1?
So there's several different types of assignments.
Sorry. I asked so many questions, and the one thing I want to know more than anything is, which is the best ship? Which is the best ship?
It depends on what you want to do, and they're all going to be situational. So there's going to be an array of different assignments you can send your ship on, and there's the different types as far as jobs, missions, and events. So that's kind of the three classifications of assignments that you can send your ship to, and the rewards for doing each of those vary. The rewards for jobs are always going to be our base currency, so it's going to be how you earn your deuterium.
Like, talking about a job, like if I've got a fast ship, what's my like? Would I deploy a fast ship on a job, or would I deploy a shield ship on a job?
Depends on the job.
So each of our assignments are also going to have an assignment type, so it's a different kind of story behind what this job or assignment is. So let's say the job that I'm looking at right now is an escort job. Each of those jobs are going to have a preferred class of ship, not necessarily so Corvettes are a class, and then they're also going to have a stat requirement, or either it's a requirement or a stat that your chance of success is rolled again.
So if I have a less than ideal ship, I can still potentially deploy it on some of these jobs, right?
Absolutely.
But it just my chance of reward is lower or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's start with the jobs first, and then we'll kind of go into the events and then the mission. So with jobs, the payout is always going to be deuterium. And let's say I'm looking at doing an escort job, and the preferred ship for that.
I want deuterium, right?
Yes. Deuterium is the base currency, which is going to you're going to spend to do a lot of other things in the game. Okay. Imagine this like your gold from many other games, or your coins or money or whatever else. That's the primary currency.
And one thing, Russ, sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure if it's one thing that people may be getting hung up on is, so these three ships, the weapon ship, the speed ship, and the shield ship, those are all part of a specific class of ship called the Corvettes.
These are all Corvette class ships.
And there are, in the game, there will be other classes of ships that have different ships in that category. So now
there will be a total of 5 different classes outside of the shuttle, and those classes are going to be Corvette, which is the smallest ship. Next up from that in size and stats is going to be frigates, then light cruisers, freighters, and then heavy cruisers. And those are from smallest to largest.
But for this initial phase, right? If we're calling it a phase, we're only going to have just the Corvettes, right? At least initially, or is that not?
We will have Corvettes, but that's the only thing that a fleet commander can really assign, because they don't have the expertise to command these other ships. That's something they will earn as they level up their command center. They'll gain access to command and have part of their fleets these larger, more complex ships.
As you gain experience and rank, you gain the ability to command new ships.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. To build up your fleet.
So before we dive into
stats, is that can they do the same type of jobs, or is there a completely different set of jobs that these new ships can do, like a frigate?
They will have the ability to do any of these jobs. One of the things that you will notice as we start to lay this out is specific ships, the classes, whether they're Corvettes, frigates, or cruisers, will be preferred for specific jobs and events.
So if I love a Corvette, I can still run spice or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Small amount of spice.
But that's the thing. Like a Corvette is a smaller ship, so you're not going to be able to carry as much of the resource if you're just doing a hauling mission or something like that. Or let's say it's a combat mission. A light cruiser is going to have more weapons capacity than some of these other ships, and that's where you'll run into some of what these requirements are, and then kind of the what the stat specializations are. So there's going to be a primary stat that determines your success chance in doing any of these. And that's where the weapons, the shields, and the speed come into play. And there's going to be a variety of these available at any given time throughout the game as you're participating in it. So
I guess you right at the start you mentioned there was a free-to-play ship as well.
There will be, yes.
So it can even go and get some of this deuterium, but it just won't be as good as like if you got a freighter.
Exactly. So again, let's kind of step through I've got my Corvette. Let's say I've got a Gharial, which is the weapons Corvette, and I'm looking at the assignments that are available to me, and I see that there is a job that is geared towards a weapon-based stat ship and a Corvette, and then there's an event and then a mission. Now I notice on the missions are our most difficult things. That the mission may have a stat requirement of 20 for my weapons, and I realize that I've only got a 13 in my weapon score at the moment. So I have the option of either looking to improve that through leveling up my ship, which increases its stats, or by installing those retrofits. So that kind of eliminates that option for me right now. So now I'm looking at, do I want to do a job, which will give me as a reward deuterium, or do I want to do an event, or do I want to send my ship to explore? That's the other assignment option that we have. So now I'm looking at the two that have a requirement, which are the job and the event, that both have a weapon requirement, which I meet because I've got, let's say, 13 of my weapons, and they both require weapons of 10. And then I want to look at what ship class is preferred for this type. So let's say this is a, here I'm looking at my list of things here. Let's say this is a covert operations mission, event or job. So obviously this is going to be something that what we have these preferred classes right now is for our smaller ships, the Corvette and the frigate. So that fits perfectly for the ship that I have and the potential reward that I can get. Now I could go and do something that's a bulk transport mission that's typically geared for a freighter, but as you mentioned, like my ship's not designed to do that. So I'm not going to be able to get the additional rewards at the end of completing that assignment that I would be if I had a proper ship to kind of perform that event or that job. Does that make sense?
So basically, if you match up the ship to the job perfectly, you get a bunch of bonus stuff, right?
That's exactly. Your yield or your rewards or your chance of success are going to be higher.
Cool. So you can still play everything with whatever ships you have, but you can get better bonuses and progress faster.
Exactly. If you find things that are geared towards what your ship that you're looking to send out on an assignment would be.
So I guess that plays into it as well. Like if you send that ship off on that event, then you don't have that ship to send off on another event if another thing comes up. So you got
exactly, and that's where the fleet management side comes in. Is you have to look at what ships you have available, what you want to send out, and then there are going to be things that pop up over the course of time that are going to be limited opportunity as far as a time window to participate in these, and you want to make sure that you have the correct ship available to participate in those where you can have the greatest chance of getting that reward. So let's say I have two of each of the ships. As far as the Corvettes go, I have two of the weapon base, two of the shield base, and two of the speed base. I might want to send one of each of those to go do a longer term assignment, and then I'm going to keep the other ones doing shorter term things so that I always have the ability to go, oh, something's popped up that I want to participate in. I've got one of these that's available to go and do that.
So you want to make sure you can build out a fleet. You want to be ready to take advantage of opportunities, right? Like you don't want to be. So we've got one nice ship. That's great. You can do some good tasks, but you still may be throttled.
Possibly, but I mean, there's also the possibility, like it's a greater reward if I focus on one ship type and I only search for that type of event. Like I may just want to max out one of my ships to as best as I can make it first, and then everything that comes along that fits in, that kind of matches my ship and what it can do, I get to be the most successful at. So if it's a PvP event where you may have 10 ships enter this event and only one of them is going to be the winner, I've got the highest chance of winning those things. So that's kind of where the decision making comes into play as far as what you want to spend your resources, your time, and your specializations on. But you could also go, I want to be, generally good at everything and not specialize in one thing. So I've got more opportunities to participate in different types of things with a medium chance of success.
If I've got 1,000 ships, right, that are all spec'd right, then every time an event comes up, even if I've got something locked down, I can take advantage of that event. Like that's going to be an advantage to me, right? That has to be.
It would, but the thing is, you can only have 50 active ships at a time.
Okay.
So yes, if you wanted to whale out and go buy 1,000 ships, you could do that, and there's some variability and when they're minted and the things that you could equip, but you're only going to be able to have 50 active ships at any given time at a maximum, and that's also dependent on the number of ship bays that you have in your command center. You're not going to start out with the capacity to command 50 ships. You're going to have to work your way up to that, and you'll earn more ship bays for your command center as you level up. And then there'll also be a way to purchase to install additional ship bays into your command center to be able to control more ships. So that's kind of part of that progression line that you'll go through as you participate in the game, and you level up your command center and your ships.
So when you say active ships, like if I've got 51 ships, like is it active when it's going and doing a job, and then so I can still choose out of my 51 ships to do it, or what is that active?
Active
Versus not
means
active.
at your command center, either on missions or available to do missions. So if I've got 51 ships, I've got to choose one of my ships that I'm going to leave behind and basically, stationary on a planet or at the ace garage or whatever it is. It's just not an active ship.
Oh, so it just can't even choose to send that on missions at all. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine for a sports team, you have your active roster. You could have your reserve squad that you can call up if you want to, but you're only going to be able to have at most 50 active ships. But that's a lot of ships too. Like that, if you're managing a fleet of 50 ships, you're going to be quite active, and your commander is going to be getting his pay for sure because he's going to have a lot of things to juggle.
But is there going to be like scenarios where, okay, let's say I've got 100 ships even, and I've decked out a whole bunch of them to be like very specific things, but they're not active now. Like, would there be certain themed events that are going on for extended periods of time where I'm like, okay, I need to switch which ships are active, or
that's a definite possibility. Yeah, because one thing that'll happen is we talked about the missions, and that's kind of our in-game type events, and those will probably be scheduled to happen probably on weekends, unless there's special ones that happen during the week for certain holidays or some special circumstance. But for the most part, we're going to try to position these things to be available on weekends. So the more we have, the most possibility for people to participate. But let's say, during the week, I want to kind of keep this fleet active. This is my active roster for week time. And then when I get to the weekend, I want to bring out my ships that are already max level so that I can have the availability of ships to send on these very high end, difficult missions to do, or difficult events.
Is that the reason that I would keep the extra ships then? Is because I could potentially end up getting one, like maybe I've got a high level one and I don't want to risk retrofitting that, but I could have some other ships that I can sort of weave in and try and level up in hopes of getting a more powerful ship. I'm just trying to think, like why, yeah.
I don't know that there's a reason to ever sit your best ship, unless you've got a bunch that are already max level that basically there's no advantage for continuing to send them on assignments because they're not going to level up anymore. They've reached their level cap, so that might be a reason why you want to basically bench some of those and put them in reserves until you need something that's very high end. So one of your best ships. Now, it's not going to be a long process. Like if you decide, hey, I need to go call one of my ships out of reserves, you could basically send one of your, I've got 50 active ships. I want to go, all right, I've got these two that I was working on leveling up. I'm going to go put those in reserve and call forward my top tier ships that I had in reserve, in the reserve at the time, so that I can go do this very high end mission or event or something where I really need all of my firepower available.
Yeah, so I guess if there was an event where you needed, or like we said, this weekend we're gonna have a lot of events where you need lots of weapons.
Yeah.
Maybe we're fighting some sort of war or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
Then all my speed ships are not really going to be useful, so I just maybe make them inactive for the weekend.
Yep.
And did you say that it does or does not take a significant amount of time to swap them out and change up your fleet roster?
It's not going to be a large time cost to do that. There will probably be something as far as a resource cost in deuterium or time. We haven't nailed that down exactly because we're still working on a couple of tokenomics things there, but it wouldn't be something where I go, well, it's going to take me a day to kind of get these things brought up. It should be in the magnitude of maybe a couple of hours and a small resource cost.
Okay.
So some penalty there, so that you've got to really think about managing your fleet. Like you don't want to change them out every day, but when big events are announced, like you can just go ahead and set up your fleet and optimize it for the event.
Exactly. So that kind of talks about, some of the stats. And one of the other things that we didn't dive into is there's going to be also things that you can install at your command center. Your command center is basically your mothership. And there will be things that you can also modify your command center with that will give you fleet-wide bonuses. So you asked about, what if I need, a high weapon skill? I may not have something available, but I may have a module on my command center that gives, +3 to my weapons on all of my ships for a specific type of assignment. So while I'm doing, PvP events, all my weapons get +3 to their weapon skill. So there will be things like that that can provide fleet-wide bonuses based on the things that you install at your command center as well.
So my Corvette got like the maximum retrofit bonus that we were talking earlier, and I managed to get all 5 on there. I had +10 weapons, and then I had this on the command ship. I could get it up to +13. Is that right? Yeah, awesome.
Well, let's say you roll a max level weapon ship, so that you start with a base of 10. You've leveled up the 10 levels, so that's 20, and then you put 5 stacks of the +2 weapon stat retrofits on. So you've got 30 weapon stat on that ship now, which is very significant. So that really opens up the possibilities and of things that you can do and excel at.
But then a
But
+3 from the command ship, that's still a 10% addition on to
yeah,
30. So that's still pretty significant too.
Yeah.
absolutely. But think about that too, is where maybe weapons isn't your primary stat, and you want to be able to have some of your other ships that may have a different, that maybe you want to send one of your Zephyrs to do a weapons mission, but because you've got all these bonuses stacked on your command center, you can still reach a weapon skill of 13 to 15 or something along those lines.
Oh, for a ship whose primary.
So the secondary stat, you could still use that if you can get that high enough based on the modifications you put.
Right.
Oh yeah, so my fleet was 20 and not 50 or 100. So like I'm not maxed out. I'm still got this Zephyr there. It's not optimal, but I can still make it better and useful for this event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's also going to be things where it's more than just the primary stat that comes into play. There may be assignments that require, a primary that key off of 2 stats. So it's your weapons and your speed, or your weapons and your defenses for this type of event. And obviously you're going to need to look at the variable of those 2. So there's also retrofits that provide +1 to speed and +1 to weapons. So again, that comes into play of fleet management and understanding what the specifications of your ships are, how you've kind of geared those out, and what options those present to you as far as the assignments that you can send them on.
So like if I've got that weapon ship, like it's not just let's add the weapons retrofit to it. Adding speed or shields could be really useful too.
Absolutely, and that's another strategy. Like, let's say I've got a great roll in my weapons already because I've leveled up. I had a high roll to start with. I've got bonuses from my command center, but if I want to do things that key off of 2 stats, I probably want to do something on this ship that increases my secondary stat so that I can have a wider range of things that I can do successfully.
To make it a little more well-rounded and not super specialized, more utility.
Yeah.
It's like when I used to play World of Warcraft, right? It's like you'd have talent trees, and it was like always better to spec to the max of one thing than to try and like spec to the mid of all of the different sort of trees that you could, what I'm talking about? Like it was better to be specialized than to be a jack of all trades, right?
That's not always true with WoW. Like, I mean, you think about the classes, like there's even in each of the classes, like you think about, a mage. Do you want to be a glass cannon, like all fire and have no defensive capabilities? Or do you want to play something like a frost mage where you've got offensive capabilities that do good damage, but you've also got a good array of defensive things that you can do, like, ice block and things of those nature. So, I mean, there is a balancing thing there. Not everything is just, hey, I want to do, I'm a DPS class, I'm going to do all damage. But you've got to survive. Like, a dead character does no damage in WoW, right? So if you're going to go be a glass cannon, you've got to really tailor your play style to avoiding all possibilities of damage. And it's kind of the same thing here when you look at this. Is there's going to be scenarios where it's not just min maxing on stat, but you might need to have some balance there in the things that you're choosing to do.
But Rusty, you're talking about like within the like talent tree specifically. I haven't played retail in a while, so more like classic WoW, where you would almost go like 41-10, 41 into one specific thing, as opposed to like putting
Right.
10 or 20 into each. Yeah.
You have like something like 50 talents or whatever, and it's like you could put, in order to get the top tier talents, you had to basically go 40 or more into one tree.
Right.
There's no way to get those top tier talents if you divided, right? So if I went like 20 20 20, I would have maybe a more diverse range of abilities available to me, but there was no way to get those really elite top tier talents if I did that. Right?
True, but there were a lot of classes that didn't necessarily want to get that top tier talent, that would do more like a 30-30 build, where there's important kind of milestones in a couple of the trees that they wanted to get that synergize with each other, and that's one of the things that we really want to make available, is the ability to look at synergies and things that you can do. Let me give another example of a job or mission you might come against. Let's say there is a weapons based mission that's available, or an event, but also in this area where this is taking place, there's a heavy there's a heavy radiation thing that's going to require you to have a shield stat to be able to participate. Yes, the competitive part of this requires your weapons stat so that you can, outgun the next ship or whatever you're facing. But you can't even go into the region if your shields are too low, and you can't basically withstand the environmental. So there is going to be scenarios where you have to pay attention to not just all focusing on one, that one stat. Obviously, it'll give you a greater chance of success, but if you're prohibited from even doing it because you haven't reached that minimum threshold for your secondary stat, you just won't be able to participate.
And I think
so. If I
Russ-
just
go ahead.
if I just have like one or two ships, then going all in on one stat sounds like it may not be the best strategy. But as I build my fleet out,
Exactly.
at some point I probably do want to go all in on one, just to have it there for like those when those big events pop up.
I think that's probably wise. I think once you have a large enough array of ships, starting to kind of get like that 6+, you can start to choose some that you may want to really heavy specialize in a certain area, while still having some that are for general purpose that can kind of fill the gaps in whatever may come available to you.
And I think, well, two things with what Rusty was saying as far as a specialization. I feel like that might come more into play either with like, I know we haven't talked much about it publicly, but as far as like the tech trees on like the planets or the command ships or whatever else, to that you might specialize more. It all really comes down to how you want to play the game, I think.
It is, and we're going to put possibilities out there. And I'm actually really interested to see how the player base looks at this. Like, I mean, it's really going to be quite enjoyable to watch for me as a designer, to watch how people adapt to this and how they choose to basically gear out their ships and to manage their fleet to best make use of the opportunities that are presented to them. Like, I think that's going to be one of the more interesting things to watch as the game unfolds.
They're always going to come out with some sort of a build that like nobody thought of. There's going to be a build that it's
somebody's going to break it.
You always got to find a way to break them out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do think hearing like, oh, like there's a 50 ship cap, and in my head just playing devil's advocate and trying to like think about how people are going to respond to that. Just 50 ships is going to be a lot of ships, and it's not going to be something that you get the first day, first week, first month of playing.
Right.
Like it is an evolution.
Well, someone will, but that ties. There's some other mechanics that we haven't talked about yet where it makes sense to have a lot more ships, because there's going to be things that will allow you to salvage it. Like let's say I went and bought 100 ships to start with, because I had plenty of money that I wanted to spend on this, and I wanted to have the best things possible. Obviously, I'm going to be limited, and everybody's going to have that cap of at most being able to have 50 active ships. But then I can potentially take some of the ones that are maybe not, that didn't roll as high, or that aren't as geared towards the things that I want to do, and salvage them into what is our secondary resource, which is our premium resource, which is called ADRM, which is Andromedite. And we'll talk more about that probably in a later one of these segments to dive into that. But there will be a reason to have more ships. And one of the other things, you brought up planets. When someone discovers a planet, they have to choose to basically sacrifice one of their ships to colonize that planet. Now, planets are going to be extremely, extremely rare, but they're going to be extremely valuable as well. So if you're one of the people that is lucky enough to discover a planet, you're going to want to have a ship that you can dedicate to colonizing that planet. You basically, that ship goes down to the planet and, is torn apart, and they turn it into a facility to basically become habitants of that planet. So there are reasons why you want to have these extra ships available. Because if you have 3 ships, you deck them out completely, and you come across to the scenario where you discover a planet, like you're giving up one of your
planet.
You do, but then you got to go, man, I've got to give up one of these ships that I put so much time and effort into, and I've got so much invested in. Like that's a tough decision to make there.
So a good idea to always have a couple of spares that you can use for things but aren't your prized possessions.
That's definitely what I would do.
Yeah.
So if you roll, like if you go and get a ship and you end up with just like the worst stats that you can possibly get for that ship, like it's not the end of the world because
No, it's not.
No,
Like,
that's a great one to hold on to.
Exactly.
And just,
so save that for one of these scenarios where you have a reason to salvage or to basically repurpose that ship for another use.
That's so terrible for that ship, man. Like we're holding on to you for a special.
You get the special mission.
We're saving you just to sacrifice you later. But yeah.
Character ship number 3.
You have a special job, character ship number 3.
But it's like I'm not sure if anybody has played that game. I think I brought it up like in meetings or whatever, called No Man's Sky.
Yes.
Where you'll find a crashed ship and you can either choose to go and get the parts to repair it, and sometimes it's a shitter. It's not great. But you want it because you can have so many ships, but then you can also.
Can we swear on the show?
I mean,
I just want to tax Prince there and acknowledge what just happened.
Yeah. I wouldn't say. I mean, I think it's a quote unquote mature channel. I mean,
is Twitch? We're on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Twitch?
But it is going to go on YouTube as well, isn't it?
I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's a.
I wouldn't use any terrible swear word, but yeah, it might not be the best ship, but you still want it because even though it might not be your main one that you use on missions, it can serve a purpose.
Yeah, and even, I promise you, even the worst ship can go and do things. They can earn deuterium. Like, there are things that you consider to do. It is absolutely far from useless. The only time that you'll ever get to that scenario, potentially, is if you get to the 50 ship cap of active ships, and then, maybe you want to stick it back in reserves for something else. But I promise you, until you reach that point, there's going to be something you're going to want to send it on, and it's going to be beneficial for you to have it out there working as opposed to sitting at home in the command center on the in your ship bay doing nothing.
Yeah. No, I think that's just us getting attached to inanimate objects and like, oh no, but it's my ship and I don't want it to be bad. I want to love all of my children, but this one's not as great,
It's ship 4378. It's it's
yeah.
You'll always be my.
It was my first ship though. But yeah. So cool. I mean, that talks. I know there was a lot to unpack there, and there was a lot that we went over. Please, if you have questions, feel free to hit us up in the stream if you're here. I'd love to hear if anybody has questions that's viewing, or if you have questions after the fact, you can jump over to our Discord and feel free to ask. We've got a lot more that we'll be going through as we continue this video series, and as we release information on the Discord about the ships and how the game is going to function. So
we're really love to hear from the community about like which ship they think they are going to want the most. Like, do they like the weapons, the shields, or the speed? Like, without having played the game, like what do they like the most?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to hear people say.
Can we put the fat one on the screen again? You know what I'm talking about? The bulky one.
Wow.
Which one?
The Menhir, I think. I think that's what we're showing right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That one.
Yeah, that's the weapons.
Gharial. Sorry, no, not that one. I meant the bulky one, not the fat one. The bulky one.
The weapons one. This one.
The scout one. Yeah, the Gharial. That's the one I want.
Gharial. Yeah. This is the weapons weapon.
I can't read words. Gharial. There's an I in there. Who hid that? Yeah, this one's awesome. This is my favorite. What's your favorite?
I like this one a lot, but I'm very partial to the Menhir. I like that one a lot. Just the bubble effect. Like even in most games I play like a tank or utility class. And I really like the defensive capabilities of things and being able to just withstand a pounding and keep on going.
Can you throw up the Zephyr?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Hold on.
Yeah, because
where's it at?
I really
There it
like
is.
the Zephyr, and I think the idea like space is big and being able to get around space fast. I
True.
like that concept. And I'm an engineer by background, and so like the shapes, the triangles, it's very much more
Pleasing.
my style.
Yeah.
I like the aggressive, like reversed wing, like the forward wing. You know,
Yeah.
we're in space, but still, it looks cool. It just, is that for fight? I don't know if that's a good like why they do that on some fighters, but it looks like aggressive. It's like
Yeah.
it's like
the forward wing, like
aerodynamics
on
or something. What?
yeah, you're talking
Yeah.
about for like fighter plane.
Yeah, fighter planes that have that aggressive like front angled wing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something
Yeah.
about that. It's just like
It looks menacing, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, turned aside, it looks like an old school samurai helmet.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't see.
Looks like a face. Kind of looks like a face there, like with eyes. Like
Yeah.
reminds me of like a
End of my head.
a zealot or something like from StarCraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Or an alien
Corey,
face.
the artist, did such a phenomenal job with all of these.
He did. He really did. I love all of them.
Yeah,
And
I
just
definitely like them all, but yeah.
And
But you
keep in
gotta
mind,
With that one, the Gharial, the Gar is the H is silent, right?
Yes, Gharial.
Gharial.
But you like these? I can't wait until you see the frigates. The frigates are going to be amazing.
I was gonna say, and these are just like the first three.
Yeah, this is just the first class. Like,
the first class.
wait-
Yeah.
wait till we see what Corey comes up with for the frigates and the cruisers and the freighters. Like I can't wait to see those and share them with the community.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah, like when you take into account all the different classes of ship plus all the different stats, 50 ships actually, like as you get towards endgame, is actually like you really got to figure out what you want to do with your ships. You can't.
yeah,
just,
exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
I want more.
Yeah.
More than the 50.
Yeah.
But you got to pick and choose. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like like I said, sports teams. Like NFL roster, they got to cut down to 53. You can't have all the players. But that's why it's a fleet management game. Like you have to make conscious decisions about what you're going to do, and with some choices you have to give up something to be able to do some other things. That's what makes it interesting.
And
You can't have all the things all the time. That's greedy. That's greedy, Rusty.
Some people may be partial to doing events or doing, exploration, or some people may have planets, and you just gotta. It's a strategy game. You gotta make decisions based on what your end goal is and how you like to play the game, which I think is great because there are so many different ways to approach it and different strategies, and depending, it all depends on what you want to do.
Well, yeah, we're actually making the game, so we can make changes. So, do we want to have like an upgrade for your command center that lets you have more ships, but then you sacrifice nothing of
Hey!
that?
Don't give away everything yet. Save something.
We're talking about ships and upgrades. I mean, I don't know if that's the thing. I just threw it out there. Do we could call that the Rusty upgrade?
Anything is possible in the future.
We'll have to see how it goes. We'll have to figure out how people... Because I know somebody's going to go in and, not break the game, but, be like, oh, we did not think that somebody was going to go and do that. And then now it's like, okay, now that is insanely overpowered. We have to somehow try.
Nerf.
Yeah.
I hope that we do a good enough job to limit the number of times that's going to happen. Like, it's a really challenging thing to do, especially from a design perspective. Like, you want to create things that are interesting, and you want to have a lot of unique possibilities and combinations. So when you do that, you always take the risk of making something or not realizing some possible combination. But we're going to do everything we can to keep that to it as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Target is 0, but we'll see.
We'll see. Okay. Well, I mean, unless anybody has anything specific to add or any other questions that haven't really been answered. Again, if anybody does have questions, I did post a link to our Discord in the chat, so feel free to join us there. Drop a question. Give us some ideas for what to do for the next one.
I actually didn't look. I want to go back and have we had any questions come up from the stream, the chat? And
no, not that I saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's going in chat? What's up, chat?
What's up?
What's up?
Cool. All right.
Guys,
I want to make sure we didn't miss
I want to talk about for just a second.
Yeah.
The Cerritos. Have you guys seen Lower Decks?
No.
There is this thing where like the main one of the main characters, she was like in the elevator and she was like doing the live long and prosper thing, but she was like doing it like gangster style.
Awesome.
I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. That was awesome.
I love that show, actually. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
What show was that?
Lower Decks. So Paramount has, I guess, rights to Star Trek now.
Yeah.
And so they've got.
Oh no, that's the animated one, right?
Yeah, they've got to go.
Yeah.
I saw that. I have not checked it out. I'm gonna have to go do that.
That's awesome.
I'll check it out for sure.
It kind of makes me feel like it's a cross between like Star Trek, Futurama, and The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Dude, those are all excellent. I'm gonna have to check it out now.
I think the creator was involved with Rick and Morty, which is the same idea. It's kind of like
Is it Harmon, or is it a different creator?
It's not Harmon. I think it's someone else, and that's why I'm like, I don't know. Now I don't know how much of Rick and Morty is Harmon and how much is this other guy, because it definitely has a similar feel, But I think it's not Harmon. I could be wrong. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, Rick and Morty's another fantastic show too.
For sure. Yeah.
It got too pop culture-y. Like after season 4, it was like it started turning into Simpsons, where it's just like every other line is a pop culture reference, and then it was just, I don't know. For me, it lost me at that point. I don't know.
Welcome to old age, Rusty. Welcome to the club.
All right. Well,
all right.
I want to thank all the 3 of you for being here, going into detail, asking questions, getting some more information out there. Thank you to everybody who stopped by. Got a new follower, some first-time chatters. I also wanted to give a big thanks to, there were some people who had followed us while we were offline, so I wanted to give a big thanks to them. And just not a reminder, because I haven't said it before, but we are close to reaching our affiliate status on Twitch, which gives us other perks, some other things that we can do to make the stream better. So if you're watching this and haven't already, please hit the follow button. It really does help us out quite a bit.
Point to the follow button for us. You're the only one with a camera on right now.
I think it's below. I don't know.
Yeah, point down. No, down, the other down. Military down. Yes, that way. That's the one. Thank you.
So again, we're planning on being back in 2 weeks' time. I think that's early November. It might change. We have some things working, reaching out to some people to come and join us and trying to work out those schedules. So keep your eye out for that.
I know who we're trying to get. Can we at least talk about it or not?
I mean, we can. Nothing's like finalized.
I know it's really hard. We're trying to get Corey, our artist, to come onto the stream. If we can, cut out some time out of his schedule to do that. So that is one of the things we're looking to do here. Maybe if not in the next 2 weeks, as soon as he has an opportunity. But we really want to get him on the stream to really do some in-depth talking on the artwork that he's doing, kind of the visions that he has for these amazing ships. So
yeah,
we'll keep you posted and let you know when that's coming. But I'm just in awe every time I watch him work and see something else that he produces.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Level. Yep.
Anyway, okay. Well, thanks again, everybody.
Right, thank you for hosting, David, again.
No problem.
Excellent job. Thank you. Pulling all together. And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Enjoy your weekend and
2. Thanks, Rusty.
2 weeks. All right.
All right.
Thanks, you
later,
guys.
everyone. Have a good weekend.
See ya.
Bye.
Peace out. I can't find the hang up button. It's way over.